Tonight, I'm going to share a couple best practices that we've used in our parenting, that we've trained parents in Pennsylvania in the youth ministry. We used to do forums for parents. And I don't know if you've ever heard of authority bullets. Every father, every husband has what someone called authority bullets. Now, I'm not talking about being a chauvinist. You know, sometimes the dad comes in and the husband says, we're going to do this. And you have to squeeze them off carefully. As a pastor, you've got some authority bullets. You can say, well, this is the way we're going to do it. I squeezed off an authority bullet one time, early on in our marriage. Probably wasn't the best thing to do. We lived in Barwood, and our washing machine broken. It was broken. And this is before Craigslist. This was before beg, barter, and buy. This is before the internet. Before Al Gore even invented the internet in the first place. We had to go to the newspaper and look in the one ads and find out who's selling a washing machine. And we saw that there was one right down there by the Galleria. I thought, well, we're going to have a good one. They're not going to go the whole life on this. It's going to be a really nice, washing machine. We go down there right by the Galleria on Westheimer. I mean, we're talking. I'm from Barwood, to go down to Westheimer, and I walk in this person's garage, and there it is. It's got halos all around it, this washing machine. And Alice, the first thing she does is she says, no. And I read the book. I got like 6 bullets, authority bullets. I say yes. And so we have this potential of who's going to win here. Well, I decided I'm going to win this. We're going to bring this washing machine home. The thing didn't last very long at all. Put it in our car, roped it down, put some duct tape on it. It's amazing the things that we choose to win over. It's amazing how what we're willing to fight over and to get divided over, the issues. The number one issue, though, in parenting, where division comes, is the issue between training or relationship. The number one issue that parents struggle with is how much training versus how much relationship. How do you balance training and relationship? What happens? Because one person will say, well, we got to really relate well to our kids. What happens to a child that is not related to well by parents? It's what Buck Hatch said. What happens when our physical bodies, don't have enough protein? There's a deformity in our souls. He would say that we have cancer of the soul. If there's not a lot of relationship at home, a child goes out into the world with a cancer in the soul. The questions I would ask my kids when we'd go out on I would take them out every now and then, and it was the roll their eyes kind of times with Dad. Right before school, they'd get their chocolate milk and their donut, and I'd get coffee. And I asked the question, do you know that I love you? And they said, yes, Dad. Do you know your mom loves you? Yes, Dad. Do you know that your mom and I love each other? Yes. Okay, everything's going to be all right. Because if they know that there's a relationship, a strong relationship, and there's love here and there's love here, everything's going to be all right. You can handle all of the behavioral issues that are going to come down the pipe. What happens to a child, though, that's not trained? What if you don't train your child? What if a child's able to do what they want to do? The family's getting macaroni and cheese and they want chicken nuggets, you give in. What do you do? What happens to a child that doesn't have what Phil would say, good, strong discipline? What happens? The picture I have in my mind is that they're like a beach ball on a wave. There's nothing to hold them down. There's nothing to cause them to say yes or no to anything. Any direction's fine. So we have to find out, is it possible to have a balance between training and relationship? Why can't we do both? What if we could do both? The idea that I want to have here tonight is this. The goal tonight is this. we parent the way that we're parented by our Father, our Heavenly Father. That our goal is to see our kids strengthened and developed towards adulthood, independence. That they would be independent. They wouldn't need to be parented anymore past high school graduation. Let's say high school graduation is the tape. Although there's going to be parenting, obviously there is, but they'll be able to exist and live independently in many, many ways. Paul says, have nothing to do with irreverent, silly myths. Rather, he says to the church there in Ephesus, this is in Timothy, he's telling Timothy, rather train yourself for godliness. He's telling Timothy to train himself for godliness. The word train is a great word. It's the word gumnos, G-U-M-N-O-S. It's where we get our word gymnasium. So it's blood, sweat, and tears. In order to be godly, Paul says, you've got to train yourself. You've got to sweat. You've got to really push. And this is parenting. And this is our relationship with God. And so we want our kids to follow our examples as we train ourselves to be godly. This is the challenge. Where is training found in the Bible? Is training in the Bible? Yes. You shall teach them diligently. You shall teach them the law, the Bible, scriptural principles. Teach them to your children. Talk about them. Sit in your house. You walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. It's not like school's in session. It's like the atmosphere of your home. This is the way the people of God in the Old Testament. It was like the atmosphere around the home is God word. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. This is the way to train and relate well to your kids. This is the biblical way. This is the way that God gave the people of God in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction. Training and instruction. I think there's a relationship there as well. There should be some structure. There should be some training. And this is probably the most famous of all the verses when it comes to this concept of training. The most famous. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old. How old is that? When he is old, he will not depart from it. So the training that you give, according to this verse, the kid won't forget it. And now, a lot of people say, is that a promise? It's not a promise. Can't be. It's not, because I've seen a lot of godly parents with kids that have gone off the deep end. It's not a promise. It's a proverb. It's a principle. And I want to talk about that tonight. I want to talk about the word train specifically. The word train. A train. And this is a good picture of what that word means. It's the idea that there's a locomotive that pulls cars along. And there's no forward motion without the locomotive. Let's call the locomotive the parents. And these cars are kids. So, in other words, this is not really a picture of a train. This is a picture of a biblical family. Here's a picture of a biblical family. This is what biblical families look like. You've got a leader, and you've got followers that follow along. I want to talk about principles. You know, a rope is only as good as how it can be strengthened and pulled. You don't push a rope. It's not going to be effective. You get out in front. The dad and mom get out in front and they pull. And you encourage your kids to grab onto the rope. You encourage them to hold on. And you give principles and you learn how to parent biblically, and you encourage them to hold on. You teach them how to hold on. You tell them what holding on looks like. And you tell them why. Why should you hold on? What's the purpose of holding on? What's it going to do for you? And this is parenting. And so I want to talk about some training principles. Here's some training principles. Think about the train. You got a locomotive, you got all these cars, you got a caboose. And sometimes the caboose is like a surprise. We didn't think the caboose was coming, and he did. We got a friend in Pennsylvania. Their They have 4 kids, and I have 5 kids. She's, I don't know how old she is, 40-something. She's going to have a baby in a month. 45 years old. That's a caboose. Sometimes cabooses come planned. Sometimes you adopt cabooses. Sometimes you adopt them. But here's some principles. I think the first principle by far for the locomotive, for the parents to understand, is direction. If the train is leaving from Houston and wants to go to San Antonio, it's got to go west. You can't go east and get to San Antonio unless you go around in a way that's not strategic. If you don't know the end, then why should you even start? The communists knew exactly what they wanted to form. In the 60s and the 70s, Douglas Hyde wrote a book called Dedication and Leadership, and he was a former communist. He talked about how the communists knew exactly what they wanted to do. The U.S. Army and the Marines know exactly what they want to produce. Like I said last week, there's no application for parenting. There's no minimal requirements. Anybody, really, 2 people can come together and become parents. If they don't know, sometimes we don't know the destination. We don't even know where we're going. The principle of parenting is know the destination. Where are you going? Where are you going? And then secondly, I think this idea of modeling. There's a modeling concept here, and we're talking about training. Jesus says, be holy as I am holy. Paul says, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. Training is not talking. If I'm like my dad, I would say this. How many times do I have to tell you, boy? That's not training. Training is not just repeating yourself over and over and over again. Training is modeling. Here's a great example. Son, go get me the Phillips head. Does everyone here know what a Phillips head is? Raise your hand if you know what a Phillips head is. Raise your hand. Okay. Some people don't know what a Phillips head is. So this one son wants to please his dad, and his dad is under the car, and he's like me, or somewhere, sweating, coming down dirt. Go get the Phillips head, son. He comes back with a wrench. It's not a Phillips head, it's a wrench. Go give me the Phillips head. How many times do I have to tell you? Comes back with pliers. How many times do I have to tell? What is the matter with you, boy? Go give me the Phillips head. He never showed him, never modeled him. Look, this is what a Phillips head is, and this is what a Phillips head does. We do that a lot. Apparently, we assume that our kids know a little bit more than what they do. Modeling is you get down on your hands and knees and you show them. Do you want your kids to pray? You pray. You want your kids to read the Bible? You read the Bible. You want your kids to take on risks? Step out of their comfort zone? This is modeling. You do it. One of the things that we do at our dinner table is every now and then, even if it's not their birthday, we put out the special plate. And anytime a guest comes, we give them the special plate. And we train our kids on how to encourage. We don't tell them to encourage when something happens and they say something that's encouraging, because there's a difference between flattery and encouragement. We say, that's good. And if they're talking in the third person, we quickly correct them. Talk to them. Encourage their soul. Pour oxygen into their soul. That's what encouragement is. When we're watching TV, I'm the worst because I'm like, well, tell me about what they're saying there. Let's talk about this. Instead of just being passive with the TV, sometimes I talk in the middle of a song. What are they saying there? What is that? Ew. Yuck. My kids have to deal with that kind of stuff. It's modeling. It's not, I'm terrible at having family devotions. We just try to build the atmosphere of God in the room. I think the next principle is coupling. When the locomotive, the next car, that contraption that locks them together. It's called a coupling. It's the relationship. Jesus said, I've called you to be with me. And And here's the power of coupling. The power of coupling is, you get down the road, you're going to San Antonio, you look back, like the Cats in the Cradle song. I hate that song because it's like I want to have a relationship with my kids. You look back and you see, oh my goodness, they're still with me. But what's even more important is they're with each other. And now, in my house, I've seen my older boys, I saw them really aggressively, they could get at each other. In the house, you could get at each other. And we have the rule, I don't care if you beat each other to a pulp inside the house. When you're outside the house, you are for each other. And if I find out that you're not for that person, if you don't stick up for your brother, if you don't stick up for your sister in the public school or wherever you're at, you're going to have to deal with me. What happens is, when we have relationships and when life is relating, we're coupling, and we look back and, family nights, when we were growing up, I used to take this flywheel. Flywheel, it's like it has a, I don't know what it is, zoom, and it's got this thing, the wheel, and it takes off. We used to shoot them at them, and so that they would have to dodge them. Or we do Indian sock wrestling, we do snowball fights in the middle of July. We want relationships to be strong so that when we do speak, they're able to be heard. Our words are able to be heard. When they get older, they'll be able to relate to one another. This is coupling. And I think then finally there's motivation. If there's no excitement, there's no training. We want to make the journey fun and challenging. And this is where I get the idea. Our last little bit tonight, I want to talk about two practices that I want you to implement. I want to put these practices before you because I think it's some of the best practices that I've seen on the topic of raising kids towards independence. And that is, I want you to consider having a teenage challenge. I want you to challenge your teens, no matter how old they are, even if you haven't started, and they're 15, 16, it's fine, no matter how old they are. If they're younger, I want you to be ready for this when they get older. It's really a great tool, leading your child in the jump towards adulthood. Your job as a parent is to work yourself out of a job. One parent said, I feel like I'm losing control, but I want to lose control in a controlled manner. That's what the teenage challenge is. We're going to lose control, another parent said, whether we like it or not. So what can we do to get the process started on a positive note? What's the plan of attack? What is the teenage challenge? What are you challenging your teens to do? Our culture is sorely missing on rites of passages. And at any age, you can start this. You want to tell your child, our relationship is going to change from adult child to adult pre-adult. Adult. And I want to help you get there. I want you to be independent. And there's going to be 4 areas that we're going to challenge you. Mom and Dad are going to challenge you in 4 areas. Physical. Want to challenge you in a physical way. Want to challenge you in a spiritual way. Want to challenge you in a mental way. And want to challenge you in a practical way. This is the teenage challenge. What does the teenage challenge look like? Well, let me give you some examples of a teenage challenge. Physical, run a mile in under 8 minutes. Some of you are like, well, I can do that easy. Well, if they can do that easy, you want to give them a challenge that's going to take them months to prepare. You don't want them to be able to just kind of run out their house and do it. It's not a challenge. Run a mile in 8 minutes and do 100 push-ups. Run a mile and do 100 push-ups in under 10 minutes. That's a physical challenge. You can't, and no one really can just run out the door and do that. If they do, then the challenge isn't really strong. Spiritual. I don't know, decide what your own standards and convictions will be in your teenage years. Memorize a chapter in the Bible. Write an outline to a book of the Bible. Teach them what that looks like. Give them steps along the way. Get them hooked up with somebody. Allow them to read a book and learn how to do this. Mental. Read a classic piece of literature. A big classic. Something that they just can't. You don't come Captain Underpants. This is not a good challenge for a teenager. Okay. I'm thinking the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm thinking. Specifically Brothers Karamazov. I'm thinking something that has some girth to it. maybe a Amy Carmichael book, Chance to Die. I'm thinking a Hudson Taylor 2-volume set on his example and his experience as a missionary. This is a mental challenge. It's tough to do. And then practical, earn $50 so that you can take the family out putt-putting. We'll match what you earn. Have a son or a daughter learn how to develop a menu and plan on cooking and have them cook several meals in a week. This is a practical challenge. The way that they handle this challenge is the way it's going to tell you a lot. What are some key points to consider? If your child is not quite yet teenager, you can give them small little bits. Don't give them too much before their teenage years. I always look at this, I think about going to a high school football game. If you've been in a high school football game in North Carolina, it's different than it is in Texas. In Texas, might as well just have smoke screens and big flames coming up as the players run on the field. After they score a touchdown, they've got these big banners. What are they expecting in college? There's nothing to look forward to. I don't want you to push this too much until they're really teenagers. And if they're 14, 15, 16, you can start anytime. Be flexible with your challenge. Make it fit your child. Be excited. Your excitement will be contagious. You might make it a summertime challenge because of obvious flexibility issues. Nicely reward a job well done. For boys, this might mean a big steak. For girls, it might mean a piece of jewelry. What we've done with our boys is they've had to ask 5 men to an end of the challenge cookout, and each of these men have said, we always use 1 Timothy 4:12, said, don't let anybody look down on you because you're young, but set an example to the believers in faith, life, speech, love, and purity. These 5 men take one of these words and speak for 5 minutes into this child's life. And I tell them, if you have any issues, you can come to me, or you can come to any one of these 5 men. In fact, sometimes these 5 men have actually, independently of us, taken our boys out to breakfast and talked about love. This is the teenage challenge. The benefits, it's a positive emotional start to the teen years. There's a greater sense of family. There's a greater sense of teamwork. For the preteens, a sense of accomplishment at the beginning of the teen years. Can you imagine a teen reading a classic piece of literature? It's an increased awareness of parents' realization that they're growing up and they're no longer a child. Every child wants to be known as someone that's older. I think every family should do the teenage challenge. I think every family should also do, finally, the birthday box. What is the birthday box? We use a birthday box. I do I've seen my friend, as my associate in Pennsylvania, his wife was really after, she got after it. She really was organized. She had a birthday box starting at age 8. 8 years old, 9, they open up a birthday box. Now you don't have to make it on their birthday. We sometimes do it right before school year. But what is the birthday box? The birthday box is really, really important. It's on the back side of your note sheet. The birthday box is what I think is one of the better tools to make life manageable at home, specifically in the teen years. You can give a little taste of it. The birthday box is privileges and responsibilities around the major issues in life. Curfew, academics, room upkeep, clothing, money, dating and parties, music and TV, spiritual life, driving, car maintenance, organization, and time management. These are the things that when they're on their own in college, they're able to do things like putting gas in a car, understanding what it means, how to check to see if the oil is low. You cannot expect a child to know how to figure out where the dipstick is. It's like asking them to go get the Phillips head screwdriver. You have to train them. The greatest thing about the birthday box is it's a contract. I'm developing now. We put money beside our birthday box. We give monthly money. Our kids have to buy their own clothing. We give them just a few dollars. We don't give them a lot, I'm telling you. We just don't. And they have to learn to say yes and no to things. Guess what? Life is like that. That's what life is like. We do not give them everything they want. They have to decide what is good. They can't do everything. And if they want to do things outside the house, they want to be responsible, they want to act like adults, then they got to be adults at home. This is what happens. This is a tough push and pull. It is sometimes there's some sparks, but I'll tell you what, the more responsibility that you give, a lot of times they rise up to the occasion. Sometimes you got to be a lot, really flexible, keep it flexible, applicable to your situation. It doesn't have to be a box, I just put it on a piece of paper. My friends have literal boxes with cards. Pull it out, where's curfew? Let's look curfew here. Okay, let's talk about this. Here's what we're saying. This year, at the age of 13, here's your curfew. Thankfully, in Pennsylvania, there wasn't a county rule. In Harris County, it's there, it's right there. Weeknights, here it is, and weekends here. Okay, good. Okay, this is your responsibility. But when you're 13, this is not your curfew. When you're 16, this is your curfew. But guess what? You have to work for that. If you want car keys, oh boy, you've got to do some work. It's not a privilege. It's not a right. You don't have a right to have car keys. There is no coddling to our children outside of our homes. No one's going to coddle your kid. No one's going to coddle my kid. If they go to a university like Texas A&M, they're going to go to a chemistry class, there's going to be 350 students in that class. They have to figure out life. And if they don't, the world's not going to pat them on the back and say, nice participation. I really encourage you to consider, if you want home, sweet home, that you give them a lot of responsibilities and then you build the privileges up. And if you're saying, I didn't do this quite yet. Start now. It's never too late to start. You can't expect what you don't inspect. Some teenagers will need to be monitored more than others. I think you need to agree to it as a spouse team. I typically write it up and I always pass it off to my wife. What do you think? I know that I'm terrible at writing. I really want it to look good. I want it to sound like a real contract. I want it to sound official. I want them to feel the pressure. I want them to be burdened by it. So I think, my football coach asked me to run fast. I ran fast. When my dad wanted me to work, I wanted to please him. I want to take advantage of the hunger. I want to find the hunger in my child. I want you to find the hunger in your children to be better than they think they can be. That's leadership. Always ask yourself the following question. Am I releasing too much too soon or not enough right now? This is parenting, kind of my best practice, our best practices. I'll tell you what, we were, I think it was walking in, it was at 5th grade, high school seniors were walking the hallways of the elementary school. And mom knows our family pretty well, said, "You guys got pretty good kids." I looked at her like, "My kids?" God will always make up for what you think you lack. I absolutely can relate to what Brad McIver said. Feeling of a loser, feeling like a failure. But the last thing I'm going to delegate is my responsibility of being the dad. I do not want to delegate that. So I want to encourage you to do Teenage Challenge in the birthday box. I promise you, your kids will grow from it. And if you need any encouragement or help along the way, I'll certainly be there, drink a cup of coffee with you, pat you in the back. We'd love to see our kids go farther than we've ever gone. Would you join me in prayer? Lord, thanks so much. I thank you that because of you parenting us well, you've given us discipline. In fact, you said in your word, the Lord disciplines those he loves. Because of that, we have the ability to discipline. And because you have understood us and everything that we've done, you've experienced life in all ways, and yet you were without sin, you've given us something to live for and to strive for. As I was just kind of reflecting tonight before our service, I looked around and there was such a energy in the room. Kids playing basketball, screaming, running, moms and dads saying, "Stop running." I love that. You must be smiling ear to ear as well. And I thank you for all the ages in our ministry. We have single digits, we've got teens, we've got 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and 40-somethings, and 50-somethings, and 60-somethings, and 70-somethings, and we've got 80-somethings. You've blessed us with a very balanced and rich family. Now we want to steward our kids well and hand them back to you. In Jesus' name, amen.